This evening to go over where we are in that process.
Good evening, President Davis, Dr. Brown, members of the board. We're very excited to be here today to present to you the current progress of the redesign of Haltom Middle School and Richland Middle School. Wanted to point out, by its sheer luck, I have a picture of one of those sponsored meals that is from Chico's today. So with me tonight, we have a whole team. We have Richard Chi, who's a partner from PBK, who's a design director. Next to him is Sean Panton, who's our designer here in the Dallas office, and Jeff Halem, who's a project manager on the project. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you, number one, because it's Board Appreciation Month, and we thank you for everything you do. And then secondly, because we're incredibly appreciative of the opportunity to work in these two middle schools. It's incredibly exciting to us, and we can't thank you enough. So we'll start with Richland Middle School. This is the existing site of Richland Middle School. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It opens up to Hovenkamp Road. It has the main building, which faces that way, and then the large number of portables are in the back of the building, as you're aware. Right next to it is the field area and some open green areas, which is what we're contemplating as the location for building the middle school. We have had a couple of rounds of meetings with the principals at these campuses, as well as with Katie and Dr. Clark, Conan and John and his team, so we can start talking about discussions. So what you'll see tonight, it's a concept design. It's not even schematic design. We'll come back later to do that, but we wanted your opinion on some of the things that we're doing. So this is the final vision for Richland Middle School, which has the building now facing, can't read it from there. Labadie. Yeah, so it faces Labadie. So we're flipping the building over to the side, so it will open up that road. So you'll come in. Parent loading will come off of Bridges Avenue. We have accommodated a long drop-off area for the parent line, as well as separate visitor parking. And if you're familiar with North Richland Middle School, this will have a lot more visitor parking. We have a lot more real estate here than we had at North Richland Middle School, so we have the opportunity to site the building a little bit more comfortably. We've allocated for a band loading and unloading area, so kids that get dropped off in the morning to go to fine arts have a separate area, and as well as kids that are going to athletic activities can go down this hallway to go to athletics. The buses will come off of Hovenkamp, and again, we've allocated for a long drop-off area with a canopy, much like North Richland Middle School, and then the staff parking area in the back, closest to the field, so when you have activities and games, you have more parking close to that, as well as the gymnasia. Track and field event located just south of that.
Irene, quick question on the drop-off for not the bus, but the other. Is that dual lane?
The drop-off over here?
Mm-hmm.
No, we're looking at single lane. So there's sometimes we get a little concerned when you have dual lane and kids crossing in front of cars, but that's something we can visit. That is a significant amount of stacking that can happen there.
Early on, there's a couple of things dropping off is a constant daily. If we mess it up for the next 50 years, it's going to be messed up, and it is a constant bane of my existence that people act surprised. Number one, their kid can't walk more than 10 feet from the front door, right? I mean, you've got to be right at the front door, or else you can't let your kid out. And then once you finally get there, it's all a surprise that their kid's going to actually have to get out of the car. I'm just concerned. I'm telling you, people will sit there and get all their stuff together and then get the band instrument out of the back, and then they have to knock to, hey, you need to open the trunk to let me get my instrument. People can sit there for 30 seconds, a minute and a half, and they have no problem. But I do agree that double lanes, you have the problem of people then want to whip around, drop their kid off head. But at the same time, that's a danger, and the only way to handle that is to have a staff member out there, staring people down. I don't want to be stuck in a queue where somebody gets up there at the front and decides that their kid's going to 2.5 minutes to tie their shoes and get their stuff together.
Well, let us look at it. We can look at double lanes, and maybe there's an opportunity to divide the 2 lanes for the curb or something, a separation, so it deters parents from jumping the curb and maybe aligns for 2 lanes of traffic again. And like you said, a staff member would be needed there because you're always feared when the kid is crossing in front of a car. But we can look at it to ensure that there's not that holdup in the morning.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And again, the kid's safety is paramount over, but parents got to get to work, and
I know. I drop off my 14-year-old at school often. So we'll look at that, and before we proceed too far, we'll kind of do a traffic study to figure out how people will move through this as well. So this, like I said, will be the ultimate site plan when the building is completed. During construction, we will be able to leave the existing building in place and portables. So we will not I'm not going to say we're not going to disrupt the campus, because we will, because we're going to be building right next to it, but everything that's existing will be able to remain. There will be a fence that separates the existing from the new. So as I said, we're fortunate to have a little bit more real estate on this site that we're able to build the building without disrupting the campus as it is today. So the floor plan for Richland Middle resembles North Richland Middle quite a bit. So with some tweaks, as we say many times, just like Ford Explorer or Chevrolet, they come up with new models of the same car. This is what we've done, is refined the floor plan based on input from all your staff and from the campus. So you'll still have a front entry where you come in, and you still have the library and the classroom wings just immediately to the right of that. Administration right off the front, so you'll have the secure vestibule that directs everybody into the administration area. And then we will have the choir area, cafeteria and stage and kitchen located right off that main street with opportunity to step out into the courtyard. That courtyard will be enclosed just like North Richland's. And then the gyms and locker areas would be in the back. Some of the salient changes that you see in this floor plan, we've divided administration, so assistant principals and counselors are now in the classroom wings closer to the students. Everybody felt that way you had adults and administration closer to the students, and it puts the counselors closer to the students as well, so that they can have a more connected relationship. Another change is that at North Richland Middle School, science was all on the first floor, all centralized. It felt, the principals and teachers and everybody felt that grade level pods where you have interdisciplinary instruction makes more sense. So we have moved science to each one of the wings. So the 6th grade wing now has the 2 science labs, 7th on the 2nd floor has the 2 science labs, and 8th has the 2 science labs. So that keeps the teams together by grade level. Another big change that we made is we've added some additional special education spaces, and we've moved. Special education was behind the administration area. Now they are in the classroom wings within where all the students are, so they're much more mainstream with everybody else. CTE was on the 2nd floor. We brought it down to the 1st floor. So this is almost a little bit of a electives wing, intervention wing. So students will be going through this wing quite a bit, and administrators are right next to it. The last big change, the gym areas and the stage dining, those spaces have not changed much. The last big change is in music. We've added some additional storage space to music. As Mr. Dietrich said that they had a need for more. And the other thing that we're exploring right now that we're working on, you have to provide a storm shelter for this building. We're looking at the fine arts area as the possible storm shelter for the building. Some of the requirements of the storm shelter are restrooms, and there was already 1 restroom in that area, and so we're added a 2nd restroom, and we've added this bump out in the back, which is a control room for the storm shelter. This space can fit the entire school population, and it's less expensive to build than trying to span a storm shelter in a gym because of the size of the structure that you have to deal with. So we're exploring this. We're hoping that we can make that work. If not, we will be turning the auxiliary gym into the storm shelter. But right now we think Choir doesn't require windows. Choir has high volume spaces, so it meets a lot of the criteria for the storm shelter. So we kind of get a bigger bang for the buck that way. And like I said, the second floor has, again, an administrative suite in the second floor, and then the grade level wings that are pretty much identical. And these, as we've talked before, they will be separated. Doors will shut during the day, so those areas for safety purposes will be secure. We decided to start playing with the exterior look of the building, but what you're seeing today, nobody else has seen. So we want your input. Hopefully you like it. If not, just let us know, We'll get rid of Sean. No, I'm just kidding. So at Richland Middle School, they told us they wanted the building to fit the context. They wanted to kind of blend into the neighborhood and pick up some of the characteristics from the houses in the neighborhood around it. So Richard and Sean started playing with it, and they started looking at materials like stone and looking at angled roofs that kind of resemble the homes around it. We learned from North Richland Middle that the canopy doesn't protect any students, so we have a lower canopy with an area for students to gather, to wait if it's raining, for people to drop off to let people in. So we're just looking at some of the very preliminary ideas of what it could look like, maintaining the classroom wing and masonry, and again, the administration area, very similar to North Richland Middle. So this is our first stab at it, and we know there's some concern with the high expanses of glass, so we're looking at that as well. We know that that's a concern. Okay. If you don't have any questions, I'll move to Haltom.
As I say, it's very nice. It's so nice you get to work with a clean slate to build something that you get to lay it all out nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y'all did a really nice job. I like what it...
Thank you.
Other comments, Chris?
Yeah, I wanted to say I really like that you separated out the science into grades. I have a sixth grader that goes to North Richland Middle, and he's had some run-in with older students. So there's quite a difference between a sixth grader and an eighth grader. So I like that it's split out, as well as the counselors being in there as well. I think that's good for bullying and other issues. So.
Yeah, those are the principals, Mr. McCanley's and Dr. Pelzer had a lot of input into that, so we appreciate that.
I did have a question on the lower awning outside. Will that cause any problems with visibility? I know we've got the glass wall for visibility for safety issues. Is that going to cause any visibility issues?
No, we don't think so, because it's still going to be a high volume. You're looking at 12 feet, 15 feet at the peak, so it's still a high space, and you're still going to be able to look in. It really allows for, one of the concerns is where can the kids stand outside after school or before school if they're dropped off early on a rainy day, so that gives them opportunity to have some shelter.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, Haltom Middle School. Haltom is not as easy as Richland Middle School. Is when I left it for the end. The existing Haltom site presents problems because of the slope changes on that site. It's a significant drop from one end to the side of the other one. So currently the school opens up to Hyers Lane and kind of comes down the hill, and there's, you have some portables in the back. You have some portables to the side of the building as well. And as you can see, the space to build is much more limited at this campus. So working with your administrative team here, this is a proposed solution that we have, which flips the building so that it opens to Hadley Street, so it will be looking towards the park. So again, you'll have the drop-off, and we will do the same research on the drop-off, the dual lanes as at Richland. And then the buses also will come off of Hadley and travel this way and move back with staff parking close to the field, close to the gyms. We have the opportunity for also, students to come in from any other location. So we've added more routes into the building. But as you can see, the floor plan of the building is significantly different from North Richland Middle School because we had to almost skinny up the front of the building to make it fit on site.
Irene, one quick thing I was going to tell you. When you guys are considering that, if it takes too long to drop off, people just go to the street and drop their kid off. We've already seen some emails come out about Northridge Elementary because they're just letting them off on a busy street because they're just like, man, I'm not going to wait through the line. So that's another thing to think is as you go through this. That's another factor is that people will just stop on streets and drop their kids out.
Yes. So,
if it takes too long to get through the normal.
Okay. Yeah. No, we will definitely look into it and do a traffic study. So this would be the phase one as we get the building built. We can build the building, we can squeeze it right next to Haltom Middle School, as you can see, where we'll have fencing all around it, close to try to keep the kids apart. Meeting with the principal, she's able to lose most of her portables here, and we will be relocating to this corner of the site. So she's able to accommodate her kids. She knows this is a little bit of a couple of years of a little bit tight, but they're do that in order to so that we can have more of the site here to build the building. We will be relocating, you own the property next to it, so we're going to be relocating the practice field over there so that kids will be able to practice sports, et cetera, here. Since you have two middle schools that you have to reschedule things, this allows a little bit more flexibility for your groups. Okay, so this building is significantly different, but we retain some of the same concepts. So you come in the main entry, and you have the main administration to the right, with the first administrative suite immediately to the left. This is your counselors and assistant principals. The library is directly across from it, so as you come into the building, you'll be able to see the library first, which is always a nice view when you come into school to look at an educational space. We have this kind of your electives wing, much like you have at Richland Middle, and then we have the 6th grade wing also off to the side. As you head towards the back, some of these spaces are similar. We've taken the same configuration of the gyms and weight room, band, choir, drama, as well with the this being the shelter as well, and then the dining with access to a courtyard here and access to a courtyard here for also for the library. And then in the second floor, you would have your 7th grade wing with science in it, and then 8th grade wing, and then in the center, you would have the other administrative suite with some of the special ed other spaces as well. Again, at Haltom Middle, they said they wanted to go more contemporary. They wanted a look that was different and something to totally change what is there currently. So these are first studies of looking at a more, still keeping a lower canopy at the front, but looking at a kind of more substantial canopy there. And that could be a little bit of look. The classroom wings could be very similar, but it would have kind of a new element to designate the front of that building, which I know you're familiar with Richland Middle and Haltom Middle. It's hard to find the front door. So I don't know if you have any other comments. And then this is our schedule. So we're in the middle of schematic design. We'll be back here at the end of February to finish schematic design. We have a design development. We'll follow that, and then we'll enter into construction documents in April so that we can complete those by the end of August. We will bid and present back to you the bids October 24th so that we can start construction. We're going to have the construction will be staggered, different phases. We will complete the buildings by May of 2021. Then we'll do the demolition and abatement of the buildings and complete the parking lots for operation. And then the athletic fields will trail a little bit longer till December of 2021, just because of the grass growing period, et cetera. Okay. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Irene? Mr. Dilks first.
Looking at the plans for Haltom Middle, it seems like, as far as classroom size is concerned, it's the same size as Richland Middle. Because I'm counting 8 in the 6th grade wings, 8 classrooms plus 2 science labs. Is that going to be big enough? Because I was at Haltom, 10. I was at Haltom when we built Haltom originally, and we built it too small. This is, Haltom Middle is our largest middle school, I believe. Am I right?
It is.
First population, yes.
Yeah.
So Haltom is designed for 1,000 students. That was what was included in the bond. And we met with staff to figure out rooms and number of teachers and usage. Richland Middle is being designed for 800 students. So that one is a little bit smaller. And then, so what we're looking is trying to create more flexibility in the spaces. So even though you see rooms here that are labeled as intervention, they'll just be classrooms. So it allows, through scheduling and through everything, more options and flexibility. The same with rooms labeled content mastery, et cetera. They're all going to be classrooms. In addition, we talked a little bit about possibly some of those intervention classrooms typically house 10 to 15 students, so they could have a wall in the center, or they could be smaller size to accommodate that smaller population, but still give you more classroom space in the building. So we're working with the principal at each campus. We have the names of all the staff. We're putting names to rooms so that we know that everybody can comfortably fit in the building. So.
Had a question this way, someone. Mr.
Yeah.
Tolbert.
Would you go back to the one that showed where the practice or athletic field is? That one right there. And what's there right now where the relocated practice field is?
Right now, it's just a soccer field.
We have an agreement with Haltom City. They utilize that now.
Right.
Yes, sir.
This may be the dumbest question you get all night. But is there any reason we couldn't start that instead of finishing last? Is there any reason, since that's vacant over there, is there any reason we couldn't start that sooner?
That's just a temporary practice field.
That's just temporary.
Temporary. It's just during the construction, because at the end of the project, the practice field,
Will be
will
there.
be right there.
Okay. So that will be the one that you do.
This is the one that lags because it's right where the building is.
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
have
yeah.
to demo the building, abate it, and start the construction. And then again, it takes some time for the grass to take in the field, so you want to give some time for that to happen.
Right. Okay. The second thing is you weren't able to be here for that workshop we had the other night, and I just wanted to pass on to you. I know that Dr. Brown has talked to you about it a little bit, but we're certainly not to that point. But I'm going to be asking and wanting to see and really being a hawk on the dressing rooms and the shower facilities. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to need all kinds of confirmation that we built them with the utmost privacy in all cases, so that a kid can go in fully clothed and then come out fully clothed. And I'm really going to be pushing that on all these new schools. And I know Dr. Brown has already talked to you about that, but just make sure that that's foremost front of mind when you're talking about showers and dressing rooms.
And that is something that we've talked about. Typically, you see the individual showers in the girls, and you see the group showers in the boys. So what we have now are great solutions to still be able to move a large number of boys to the showers, but each shower stall is curtained in. So every student will have the privacy when they're going into their shower stall. There's been a sea change on how those, those used to be called gang showers. So those are going away. There will be individual showers, but there still will be a large number, so they can move students quickly as they need.
Good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Dilks, one more.
Just one last thing. Looking here at where you've got the buses coming in off of Hadley, I was wondering, why is it that you're bringing them in off of Hadley when you can bring them up here off of Hires?
Because, our concern is with kids coming out of the locker rooms that they don't cross a road. So this allows them to come around the parking lot and come directly to the fields without having to cross a driveway. We try to keep kids from crossing driveways during the day, so this allows, the gyms are back here, they'll come out back door right here and come around to practice during the day.
Good question, good answer.
It's not that much out of the way just to go around the other way then. I just think, as far as traffic is concerned, pulling those buses off of Hadley would be a smart thing. You got buses coming in off of Hires, you got cars coming in at Hadley.
Well, we can look at it as long as everybody, if the students feel everybody has no problem, I guess it's part of their exercise. They can come around this way to the fields. So we can look at that and providing that. As a matter of fact, when we had the conversation with transportation, they would prefer the buses to come off of Hires. So.
Good question. Anyone else? Thank you, Irene. We'll look forward to the next step. We appreciate the timeline and all the